So I was supposed to be going out tonight to kind of say farewell to a good friend of mine, Becca. She's heading to an internship in Washington, D.C. But as I stood up to go grab my keys and my wallet, I realized I'm actually kind of shaky right now and feeling a little bit feverish. So I can't do that. So I feel really bad about that. And normally, whenever I start feeling bad about things, it makes me think deep thoughts. And I realized I haven't made a video on my own channel in over a month, and that's not a good thing. So I thought, here we go. Let's make a video of these deep thoughts and things. And so hold on tight and ride along with me. So I've moved around a lot in my life. It's one of the things that has just kind of happened, and I've gotten used to it. And I mean, from a very young age, I moved it the first time when I was 4, and then it just kind of kept happening. The longest I've ever lived anywhere is 7 years. The runner-up is really 6 years, and then after that, I started going to college and things. And I've actually moved more frequently now ever since coming to college, because there was the whole moving to college, and then I moved to Orlando, and then I moved back to college, but to an apartment. And so lots of moves and things. But the ultimate impact it's had on my life is uh, in the realm of friendships and what happens to me with friends and who I allow myself to be friends with. And Becca leaving for her internship has reminded me of when I was leaving to go do the Disney College program. It was a great time, and there were a lot of people. I say a lot of people. There were a handful of people that wanted to start seeing me for a little while and were upset that I was going to be leaving. And while I appreciated that and I understood that to some degree, I was unable to relate because I wasn't going to miss anything about being in Mississippi or really anybody. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in the sense that I knew I was coming back. I knew I was going to see them all again. And oftentimes it makes me feel like a terrible person because people are like, "Oh, I missed you," or "I'm going to miss you." And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say in that situation because I don't inherently miss people. Now, if I know it's going to be like really long amount of time, like it's going to be years and years and years, and there's a potential that I might not ever see them again, then I'm going to be upset. But I try to live my life in a way that says, I know I'm going to see you again. It might be a few months, but I'll see you again. So there's no reason to miss you. Instead, I'm going to go live life and to the fullest and meet new people. And that brings me to another thing is that often, moving at a young age, I became bitter about it. I didn't like moving and leaving, and I got so used to it, I decided that, you know what, I'm going to be moving again soon, so why even bother making friends? And it held me back for a long time from actually making friends. And so that's when I found the internet, which is kind of I guess it's a double-edged sword. Edged. It's a edged, whatever. It is. It really is. I love the internet and I love the people. I was just on a Google Hangout earlier this evening with some people. We pulled just a last minute meeting together, and I had only intended to stay for a few minutes, but it just kind of one thing turned into another, and I got it was wonderful, and it was internet friends, people I've never met in real life, and I might meet a few of them in real life just because who knows what was going to happen. But it was just a fun time with people, that I didn't have to have that awkward meeting with them in some weird social construct. But it did. For years and years, I wouldn't allow myself to make a deep connection with people because I knew I'm going to be leaving you anyway. So, yeah, I'll be your friend, if you will. But what's the point? What's the point of making relationships with people and being pleased with those relationships and making deep connections with people that is going to last for the rest of your life? I mean, it makes me think my dad, someone he went to college with or whatever, I mean, he's been friends with them, and it might not be often, but he still every now and then will call him on the phone or will text him or email him. I don't know what old people do these days. Maybe it's even snail mail. But those connections I never saw myself making. For years, I had friends and people that I hung out with a lot, but never did I allow myself to make a connection where when I was apart from them, I wanted to keep talking with them and stay interacting with them. And so, I mean, that went all the way up until just, a year and a half ago when I went to Disney and I decided, you know what? forget it. I'm going to start making big friends, and I'm going to have a good time, and I want to make deep connections with people. And I think part of it, it goes hand in hand with one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who. It was a Christmas special, and someone asked, what's the point of letting them be happy when you know they're going to be sad later? And he said, the point is, of course, because they're going to be sad later. So I think I really let that sink in, and I understood that, what's the point of making these deep connections with people and being good friends with them if I know eventually I'm going to leave them and there's not going to be any because I don't keep in contact with people. I just don't. So what's the point of making a deep connection and really loving someone now if I'm not ever going to really see them much again, because I know eventually I'm going to leave them. And in Orlando, it was the same situation, except I knew when I was leaving. Like, I had a finite date. I knew January 4th is my last day here from the day I got there. But you know what? I said I don't care, and I made those relationships. And while I'm still not the best at keeping up with people, it's been really rewarding. And the point of this video is, don't let yourself get so caught up with the idea that you have to be with someone constantly for them to have really mattered to you, or keep in touch with them. And it is important from time to time to shoot them an email or a text or give them a call and just be like, I've been thinking about you. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out conversation. It can be. But you just want to be like, missed times together. Hope you're well. And that's all I need. That's all I need is just for someone to know, and for someone to let me know that they were thinking about me. And that to me means I made an impact. I meant something to them. If they were thinking about me on a day that I said nothing to them, but they were thinking about me. Like, for example, I have this friend, this is going to end up being a really long video, but I don't care. I have this friend, Rebecca, who I met in Disney, and she'll call me every time she hears the Owl City song, Good Time. Every time it's on the radio, she blasts it up and gives me a call. The first few times I didn't answer. It wasn't my fault. I just didn't answer. And she would leave a voicemail, and I'd answer it. And I'd listen to the voicemail, and there it would be. She's singing along, just singing her heart out to the song, Good Time with Owl City and Carly Rae Jepsen. And that was that's awesome. And she still does it. I mean, whenever it comes on the radio, she has to call me, because that was kind of a thing we listened to a lot while we were in Disney. And that's all that matters, I mean, it might be weeks or even months between times that we talk to each other, but when that happens, it says forever we're connected. We don't have to stay in constant communication to be connected, to have that connection. It's a permanent thing. It's a lasting thing. With my buddy Andrew, it's headphones. Just the other day I texted him. I was like, help me out. I'm trying to make a decision. And it's just things that make you think of other people. Just make those connections. And it doesn't have to be people in real life. People have this stigma for meeting people online. It's great. Like I said, there are people I know online now that I met through YouTube, and it's a beautiful thing. And while none of us are super close yet, because we really are just now starting to get to know each other, but don't let anything hinder you from making that lasting connection like I did. For a good 8, 9, 10 years of my life, I deprived myself of fulfilling relationships. And I was never really sad, but how can you really be happy that way either, I'm perfectly fine alone. I am a loner. I go camping alone. I live alone in an apartment, so I'm perfectly fine spending time alone, but I'm not depriving myself anymore either, because I have those friends, and I have those people that maybe and I am still an introvert, so I don't constantly want to be around people, because that's very draining for me. But it's so much more rewarding, because it's not superficial anymore. Used to, I'd go out maybe once a week and hang out with people, and then I'd be like, oh, I don't want to see you people for a long time now. And it was just so superficial. It never mattered to me. I'd sit around and I'd I guess appear like I was having a good time, but ultimately I felt alone because I didn't feel a connection with the people I was with. But now I might go out 2 or 3 times a week and hang out with friends. Like, ooh, I'm getting so social. And but it's because there's that connection. because I realize, I like these people and I want to get to know these people and I want to have conversations with these people that matter. I don't want to be like, oh, my favorite sports team scored a goal unit thing. And I don't, real conversations with people that matter. And it doesn't have to be all the time because that can get really dull. But just every now and then you have those real conversations and it's just so fulfilling. And like I said, this is ending up being a really long video, but don't let yourself get to the point where I was for a long time. I'm still on the recovery from that. I'm still getting better at spending time with friends and loving people. But don't let yourself become so negative that you just disconnect from people as a whole. There's nothing wrong with leaving people. It's a part of life. It's going to happen. But why bother being friends or making those connections if you know one day they're not going to be a continuous day-to-day part of your life? Well, the answer is, of course, because they're not going to be a day-to-day part of your life anymore. Make the best of the time you've got and be great friends. And maybe you only talk once a year once you move away from them, but they're still part of you. They're still in there. They're still locked in there and in your heart, and you love them, and it doesn't matter if you don't see them anymore or you don't talk to them much anymore. They matter to you, and hopefully you matter to them. So I guess I'm rambling now, but make connections. Be human and love others. That's what it's about, loving. It's the number one thing. So don't let yourself be as much of a loner as I was, because, even introverts like me, extreme introverts like me, we need people. We don't necessarily have to be around people all the time, but you still need people.